Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. I'm happy to talk to you about today's session, which is enhancing user experience with a speed layer. And the core of this presentation would be Data Exchange 6.0 release and what the highlights are, what the features are going to be, and the roadmap. My name is Arun Ravindran, and I'll be joined by Prem in presenting this session to you. So here is a quick look of the next 40 minutes, what we plan to cover. I would like to start with setting the context about what the whole session is all about. Then move on to product overview, talking more details about data exchange. Uh, I will also do a quick introduction for people who are unfamiliar with the product. Next, I would like to talk about the roadmap, um, what's in plan for the future releases of data exchange. And then I'll cover in some high level what the release has in terms of content. And finally, we'll be covering the product services. A quick introduction about me. Hi, I'm Arun. I'm the product manager for Data Exchange, and I'll be talking about the overview and the roadmap section. To start off, I'd like to talk about the uncertain times that we are living in. Uh, we are all in a very unusual scenario where the pandemic across the world has changed the way in which not just our businesses operate, but also the way in which our customers are reaching us as well as interacting with our organizations. This is also affecting the ways in which we talk to our employees or how our employees are working, as well as our partners. And at the core of all this is how we manage our data. So data has become so critical to the way in which we manage our organizations that it is actually key to enabling many of our emerging technologies and leveraging them. Many of our organizations are now looking into having a chief data officer, understanding how important data has become to the way in which they run their businesses. As you can see, there are a lot of technologies that require or are hungry for data. Some of the examples include machine learning and, of course, business analytics and emerging technologies like IoT or blockchain. You would also see that data is the reason why some of your competitors are getting an edge over you, or probably you are getting an edge over your competition by using enabling new business models, using radical personalization, finding new insights through data and predictive analytics, enhanced decision making. All sorts of uh, new emerging ideas could be only possible with the explosion of data and how we leverage that. But uh, as we understand, big data is very complex. It is high in volume, high in veracity, and variability as well. So it can be really challenging for you to understand and manage the vast volumes of data that is flowing into your organization and how to process that. This involves a high amount of skill in terms of people, a lot of enhanced technologies in terms of software, as well as a lot of ongoing maintenance and even changes in your existing applications and the way in which you currently manage data. So I'd like to share this famous and one of my favorite quotes: "No man ever steps into the same river twice." Actually, the quote goes on and says, "For it's not the same river, and he is not the same man." This is kind of bringing your attention to the fact that data analytics happening at the end of the day, or even sometimes end of the week for some people, or some end of the month, is not really going to be as useful as getting data at the time it is happening, or understanding data at the time as it's happening. So integration efforts and supporting technology must not only account for a variety of data sources, but they should be also be able to integrate the data without the sort of cumbersome batch processing of data that is time sensitive. And hence, This is where we understand the importance of real-time data. Now, I would like you to think about your organization and how you use your ClearPath, the data which is sitting in your ClearPath systems. What if you could unpack the value from your ClearPath systems and operate it so efficiently that you could actually become a disruptor in your industry? What if you could reduce costs by implementing a big data solution? What if you could share the data and aggregate and collect and transform all your business activities by efficiently leveraging data? These are the ideas that a product like Data Exchange unlocks or helps you achieve. So now coming on to the product. Unisys Data Exchange is a data integration software. It enables organizations to use data to integrate business processes. It also enables organizations to acquire data from production systems for your reporting purposes, business intelligence, and big data applications. It is not just an extract, transform, load engine. That's why we now call it a modern ETL with streams. It is enabling you to not just extract data, but also have a near real-time view of what is happening in your system live. Some of its features are, as you can see in this diagram, it can talk to a ClearPath Forward database, which is uh, already live in production without any disruption, and uh, hand over or target that information to a number of target databases. And these databases could be new or even existing databases. It does not make sure that you have to destroy an existing database to create something. It does work with existing databases as well. Another capability we have is the ability to do dynamic data transformation on the fly as the data moves from the source to target. Another capability is it is selective, so you don't have to, do a bulk copy of data unless you want to, and that gives you the flexibility to do all sorts of filtering and selective transfer of data. And as you can see, it is bidirectional. You can have inbound flows of data as well. And the biggest capability that I want to talk to you here is that it is no code. Basically, you do not require any sort of programming skills to use Data Exchange. It is an end user oriented application. These are some of the supported transformations that we have for Unisys Data Exchange. As you can see, we support a number of ClearPath databases here. In fact, all the major, with this release, all the major ClearPath databases are being supported. You can see that DMS has a bidirectional support. So DMS2 to SQL Server and SQL Server to DMS2 is supported, as well as Unisys RDMS as the OS 2200 users would identify, as well as in this release, we are introducing the capability for Unisys DMS support as well. And that support is to targeting Apache Kafka. Here are some of the capabilities that Data Exchange is capable of, or some of the modes of operation of Data Exchange. The first one I'd like to talk about is bulk data transfer. So most products offer this kind of capabilities where an entire database up to a certain point is copied from the source to target. And this involves a certain amount of time. The catch here is during that time, your data does not stop getting created. So your production is always live. Data is continuously getting generated, right? So bulk data transfer happens. There's still data happening. So there's a certain lag between the elapsed time and the data that you get. So this is great if you want to do a lot of transfer of data as a one-off activity, but it's not so great when you want to do, this much more frequently. So that is where change data transfer mode of working comes in. This is another mode of working for data exchange, and this is where data exchange really delivers value. So instead of snapshots, as it happens in bulk data transfer, Change data transfer actually gives you a near real-time view of live data. It only moves the change data and it saves a number of BDTs that you would have to do if you're just having the BDT capability. Another interesting capability that I just spoke about is the data transformation capability. And this is more important than you would think, right? Most of the time, you would not want your entire production data to be replicated in your dev or test environment. You would probably need to sanitize that data. You would want to scrub confidential information from leaving production before it gets into other environments. Many data cloning solutions cannot offer that kind of security and privacy, but with data exchange, because of this ability, you are covered. Now, if you look at what use cases data exchange is currently being used for, you could broadly categorize them as operational and analytic. So operational is ideally suited for people who want a very uh, close to real time kind of a view or a snapshot of their environment. And analytical is more for people who want uh, to analyze the production data, but it is not time sensitive. It can happen a little bit later as well. And data exchange supports both use cases quite well, as you can see. So where does data exchange find its natural fit? Many times, data exchange is actually used to integrate business processes, especially if they are running on heterogeneous operating systems and heterogeneous data stores. Data exchange is able to talk to many of these separate systems using adapters and plugins so that you don't have to worry about how to interface with these systems. Another important application of data exchange is in uh, utilizing ClearPath data for business intelligence. You might have the latest machine learning tools, but you might not be able to access the data that is live, that is sitting in your ClearPath forward systems because you might not be able to get a quiet period when your business operations are not so intensive. But with data exchange, you don't really have to wait for that time. You can have a real-time view without really having to offload all that information so that your mission critical workloads still continue to run without any interruption. Another important area where we, as the data exchange team, try to make sure that data exchange imbibes within the core product is in terms of security. As most of us appreciate ClearPath for its security related attributes, we are very careful in maintaining that data security with the product. So we never take any critical data out of your systems unless you explicitly mention it, so that your secure ClearPath operating system is as secure as it has always been. As well as we only share the data that needs to be shared through transformations, and we also use heterogeneous data stores. So your security is still maintained. Next, I would like to talk about a few of our clients, how they have found the product and what their response has been. Uh, this is a Latin America-based agri provider, LAR, and you can read the testimonial here. They use a number of our products, but data exchange has given them the unique ability to provide a single dashboard of their entire business operations spread in multiple geographies in one screen. So until data exchange was there, this was not possible. And this has been a game changer, not just for the CXOs within the executive board of the client, but also for their running their day-to-day operations. So this is one of the examples of where data exchange is really changing the way in which our customers are able to get insights and make extract value out of their existing data. Next is a very big client of ours, a leading retail bank. And one of their important challenges was to enable mobility. And many of us would find this more and more important in current scenario because most of our clients would prefer to access our businesses through digital channels rather than physically being present. So what usually used to happen with this client was the mobile account balances were not in sync with the production systems, and the near real-time uh, uh, view of their accounts, which customers would expect, end users would expect, was not being available to them. With data exchange, we were able to create something what's called a speed layer, uh, which was able to drastically reduce this downtime or kind of denial of service scenario. And the volumes in which we could handle were initially about 1,000 updates per second, as you can see, but this has now multiplied many times, and the average delay of 5 seconds is still being maintained. So what data exchange has enabled is to provide a near real-time view into a ClearPath solution without any kind of delay in terms of downtimes or maintenance. Uh, this is quite significant, and this is the use case that I would be double clicking next and focusing on in terms of what the speed layer is. Uh, One thing I would like to tell at the outset is this is not just for financial customers, but we are also seeing this being used in many other sectors like retail or energy or public sector. So a speed layer is essentially a solution to provide real-time access into your data that would be typically accessed in a batch process kind of way. So it's responsible for filling that gap caused by the batch layer's lag in providing the view, in giving you the most recent data. In this diagram, you can see that the ClearPath Forward application is still live. It's connected to the database, and the database is talking to Data Exchange, and Data Exchange is talking to Kafka. What happens here is Data Exchange provides a near real-time view of what data has changed in production and publishes that into Kafka. Now, Kafka, as we all know, is like a real-time message streaming platform, and it is so reliant and so scalable that almost it can keep up with the kind of performance that ClearPath systems deliver. So there is virtually no lag when it is something gets published into Kafka, and a number of clients can listen to what is published on Kafka. So there is virtually no latency between what is being published and what's being listened to. And this means another interesting characteristic of Kafka is its durability. So you don't lose data in case of any sort of downtime or any kind of disruption. So in this scenario, what happens is a number of microservices are subscribed to the information that is being published to Kafka, and these microservices enable you to talk to and mobility, a mobile application, or it could be a digital banking service, or any kind of end user application, which you can see here. This entire system is enabled through speed layer technology. Some of our clients are already using it. Many of our clients are in the early stages of its implementation. Uh, One of the characteristic of this speed layer is its high throughput, right? I mean, the whole system is optimized for providing a high throughput of data with low latency, and it is extremely scalable. Uh, and this all ties into the whole customer experience aspect that we were talking about, right? So it is going to be a real game changer when your customers see that they are not just accessing data that's uh, a little bit delayed, but it's almost near real time access to what their um, accounts are, or whatever transactions they made. All of that is now being made almost in a near real time uh, view. All right, let's talk a bit about the future. So in 2020 September, we released Data Exchange 6.0 with a number of features that I would be talking about. And we sunsetted Data Exchange 4.0 as the end of engineering support. We plan to continue an annual release cadence for Data Exchange, and the next release, which is Data Exchange 7.0, is planned for Q4 of 2021. A change you would notice in the end of support schedule is that it is going to be offset by 6 months. So we are going to extend the end of support for the last but one kind of release, that is 5.0, for another 6 months. And this would be our ongoing policy going forward. As we see more adoption of the product, we see that an exact cutoff date is likely to be inconvenient. So we are just giving that 6-month window in alignment with many of our other ClearPath products. To talk about 7.0, we plan to introduce a number of features. Many of these are subject to change, of course, but we plan to extend support of DMS 2200 to SQL Server. We want to introduce a number of scripting and automation features, as well as enhance stream management. Streams is a new feature we introduced in this release, which I'll talk about very soon. Kafka improvements, faster transformation mapping, and many other features. And of course, 8.0 is planned for Q4 2022. Next, I'd like to give you a very quick overview of what is in Data Exchange 6.0. And many of these features are the high-level ones. There are still more features, but we'll give you enough resources so that you can go into further details about that. The first feature is, and the most important feature I'd like to talk about, is our DMS 2200 support. So in 2019, when we surveyed our OS 2200 clients, we found out that a number of them were still using DMS, sometimes in conjunction with RDMS, but DMS one was nonetheless quite popular still among our OS 2200 clients. So in this release, we are introducing the Data Exchange capability to talk to DMS databases and to publish them to Kafka. Now, Kafka is a gateway to a number of other databases, as I will explain shortly. And this is a very unique kind of a scenario where DMS 2200 is being supported in a data integration product. There have been no similar solutions of this kind in the market so far. I think many of our customers are accustomed to using homegrown scripts, whereas I would strongly suggest such customers to migrate to a product like Data Exchange, because it provides the level of robustness, scalability, and performance, as well as eliminating you from the headache and overhead of maintaining scripts for your custom purposes. So this is one of our key marquee features that we introduce in this release. Next is our support for a new messaging format called Apache Avro. So Avro is an open source binary serialization format, and it is extremely compact and efficient. You can directly translate JSON data from Avro and back almost automatically. And you would find that in the conversion, you would actually save a lot of bytes, which translates into less data transferred over the wire, making it extremely efficient. And this translates to my next point, better performance. And you would find that Avro messages are much faster, and they have support for most programming languages. Another key benefit of Avro is that in the Apache Kafka ecosystem, Avro is a natural messaging format of choice. And this has given us a number of advantages that I would talk about soon. Next, I would like to talk about the breakthrough performance improvements that we have achieved in this release. And there are a number of them, right? It is in so many aspects that we are seeing improvements in Data Exchange performance. The first area is scale-up performance. So we find that if you have a very powerful system, Data Exchange is now able to better leverage concurrency or better utilize all the cores in your system. And These results are for you to see. The benchmarks which we have run show a significantly higher increase in performance when you try to turn on the concurrency option. So this is a great way for you to improve the performance of data exchange vertically for both CDT and BDT. Next, I would like to talk about scale out. So in some use cases, data does not have to appear in the exact same order that it has to reach at the target. In other words, it is order agnostic. So this does not mean that you would lose the order. For instance, if a particular customer's data is in the same order, uh, in the chronological order, uh, that's something that you would be caring about. You would not really worry about if it is in the same chronological order as another customer. So that sort of order agnostic cases can be now scaled out on data exchange. So scale out is a new capability where a number of runtime services can run on a number of systems, and the more systems you add, the more performance improves. Another performance improvement that was quite early in our research was bulk copy. So bulk copy used to be a separate standalone executable that was in early research stages with some limited capabilities. But we have now fully integrated that into our core product, and we have enhanced a number of limitations, a number of features in that, and removed many of the limitations, making it integrated bulk copy for a very high throughput for those one-off scenarios where you need to do bulk copy. So this is especially important when you want to create initial setup of your databases. And we have introduced BDT support for Oracle and SQL Server by leveraging their native copy interfaces. So these databases have interfaces which are highly performant and ideally suited if you are using these. I would strongly recommend if you're using these databases to ideally turn on for a much better boost in all your data transfer requirements. Next is a new capability that we have introduced in Data Exchange Management Studio called Explore. So Explore will give you a holistic view of everything that is installed by Data Exchange. So it's kind of like like a bird's eye view of your entire set of Data Exchange components that you have installed across in heterogeneous systems, heterogeneous databases, etc. And a interesting capability of DEMS is that you don't have to register the Windows components. It can auto discover the Windows components. In terms of ClearPath components, you can manually register them, but once you have registered it, it remembers, and it's a one-time configuration that you have to do. And once you have these components registered, DEMS remembers them and leverages that in multiple views. You can use it for schema validation. You can use it for all sorts of uh, places where the dropdown will show those components. Next, we have introduced a new capability called Streams. So Streams is kind of overcoming a limitation that previously we had when we had all transformations for a source and you activated them, they all ran at the same time per application group or data store. Streams is a collection, a stream is a collection of one or more transformations for a given source. So stream is defined using the administration site, and each stream can target multiple transformations. And another important aspect is they are all run independently, so you can switch on and off each stream regardless of the state of its peers. Now a stream is existing as a low-level node in your source machine, and you can uh, uh, start a transformation using streams going forward now. In terms of deployment, a stream is deployed as on one or more runtime services. And this is one of the underlying underpinnings of the scalability of this stream concept. Talking about scalability, we introduced that capability, and I found out that it has a number of other advantages, including high availability. So imagine you have a number of runtime services. By a runtime service, what I mean is it's a Windows component of data exchange that can read messages from your host, transform it, and commit messages to a user-defined target. What is represented here is a number of runtime services. And imagine that an important runtime service goes down just temporarily. Immediately, data exchange would take actions to ensure that the data does not stop flowing. It identifies any active runtime service which is still running and reroutes the data automatically to that. This is done through another service called an admin service, which would act like a primary, which would identify a primary runtime service in the event any of the primary runtime services go down. So this is completely automatic if it's happening on a runtime service. And an amazing aspect of this is in case one of these primary downtime, these services which are down goes back up again, it does an unattended recovery. So the admin service is constantly observing what is happening in its environment and identifies that what was previously down is now back up, and the data transformation can be done through that. The recovery is almost seamlessly happening, and it goes back to our earlier state. Another interesting feature that we have delivered is the logical pools of runtime services. So users can install multiple runtime service instances across numerous machines, and they would all belong to certain pools. So, and in the case of an automatic failover, they would work regardless in terms of any of the runtime service in the pool going down would enable the admin service to look into the other available runtime services and try to start another one from the pool. So this is sort of like the clustering capability that we are familiar with in other systems. So I say the best for the last. We have unlocked, with the help of supporting Avro, a number of connectivity options as our target. So as you know, Confluent database connectivity or what we call as the JDBC sync support is quite an industry standard. And because of the Avro support, data exchange is now able to use any of the available JDBC supported targets from Kafka. So what this essentially means is that if you publish information to Kafka, we are now able to export that data from Kafka topics using these JDBC connectors. In some of these connectors, we have found, for example, in the case of MongoDB, it can actually auto-create tables. So this is a very interesting capability that was not possible earlier. Earlier, we had to identify the schemas and manually create that. But now with these connectors, in the case of some certain databases, that's not required. Another capability is the readily available connectors like converters like Avro, as I spoke before. And the data exchange team has actually tested many of these off-the-shelf syncs so that you don't have to worry about the interoperability and the interfacing aspects. Now, what are the databases which we support using this? These are the database connectivity options that you have available now because of this particular capability. So these were some of the features that is available in release 6.0. I would show you some more resources where you can find more details about other features as well. But for now, I would like to hand over to my colleague, Prem, to give you a services overview. But before that, I think we have time for a quick poll. Right, Bradley?
Correct. Thank you, Arun, and wonderful job. Thank you for that terrific overview. So for all the attendees, we'll be launching our first poll here in a moment. And on your screen, for all those whose joined using the Zoom platform, you should be seeing a poll, and we're asking that you simply select your response and then click submit, and then we can aggregate those totals and we'll display those results momentarily. So the question is surrounding your use of Kafka, and which option best describes your use of Kafka? Are you currently using Kafka? Are you experimenting with Kafka? Perhaps you're not currently using Kafka. You're planning to use Kafka, or you've never heard of Kafka, but we'll start exploring it after this webinar. And once again, we just ask that you select your responses and then click submit, and we'll see those scores aggregating momentarily. I'll just give it another few moments. Seeing some of the tally slow down a bit, just another few seconds. All right, I'll close this poll. Let me share these results. It looks like the vast majority are not using Kafka currently, and then the other results are actually pretty balanced across the board there, where others are going to be are currently using, experimenting, planning to use, and we'll start exploring Kafka. Very good. I'll stop sharing the results here, and I'll hand things back over to Prem to dive into our data exchange services.
Thanks, Bradley. Thanks, Arun. Yeah. So hello, everyone. I'm Premjit Nambiar, Product Manager for ClearPath Forward Services. I will briefly give you an overview of various services we offer for implementing and utilizing complete benefits of Data Exchange 6.0 offers. Before starting with Data Exchange services, I will quickly cover our ClearPath Forward Services portfolio. ClearPath Forward Services are an integrated, holistic set of services that help maximize your investments in ClearPath Forward-based applications, infrastructure, tools, and skills. These services help in increasing the value of your core business applications and simplify operations and administration, mitigating business continuity risk. As you see in this slide, our services portfolio is aligned into 4 themes: consult, evolve, implement, and manage. Our consultation offerings are focused on providing advisory and assessment services, where we talk to you, understand your challenges, assess your environment, and provide a roadmap and recommendations for future state. We also perform innovation workshop for a structured brainstorming. Under Evolve, we offer modernization, development and management of your applications. We partner with you in your journey from traditional to digital enterprise. Our implement offerings are focused on keeping your systems, hardware, software current so that you can leverage the enhanced features available in latest versions. This is where we cover our cross-platform product services like data exchange services. Under Manage, we offer end-to-end management of your infrastructure, including operations, support, and administration. We offer both models, staff augmentation and managed services. Now, coming to data exchange services we offer. This slide shows the various types of data exchange services we offer, starting with assessment service, assessment of your environment, installation and configuration on your test environment, proof of concept to demonstrate data exchange data integration capabilities, implementation in production environment, and finally training for your day-to-day management of data exchange environment. Now, starting with the assessment service, the slide gives detail of data exchange assessment service, as part of which we will assess your requirements and provide details on how implementing data exchange can meet your objectives. We will mainly understand your challenges related to data integration and provide details on how data exchange can help. We'll also provide an action plan to you at the end of the service. Moving to the next service, that is installation and configuration service. Post assessment, after confirmation from you, we will install data exchange in the test environment provided. As part of installation, a sample database will be created. Using the sample database, we will create and run transformations. We'll also create a report describing the various configurations done in data exchange. Moving to the next, proof of concept service for data exchange setup. Execution of installation and configuration service is a prerequisite for this service, which we have seen earlier. In this service, we will demonstrate to you how data exchange can replicate and then continually synchronize data from your source database with a target database. At the same time, filtering and modifying it to match the format and structure of the target database in near real time. This service will also identify any potential transformation issues using samples of your actual data. It may also highlight any special requirements for deployment in your production environment. This POC will help you study the feasibility and the potential of data exchange and see how it can address your specific requirements and business needs. In this slide, we are also highlighting some of the major benefits of this service. Coming to the next service, that is proof of concept service, mainly for the data exchange Kafka integration proof of concept service. This is a completely new service we offer for 6.0 release. Data exchange Kafka integration proof of concept service demonstrates the seamless integration of data exchange with Kafka in a distributed streaming platform in your test environment. Data exchange integration with Kafka will assist in data transfer from ClearPath to Kafka record streams. This service will also demonstrate data transfer from ClearPath to Kafka using samples of data provided by you. This service will also help you in getting a view of actual implementation and plan accordingly. Coming to implementation service that we offer, execution of proof of concept is a prerequisite for this service. In this service, we take the successful proof of concept, complete all required transformations, and deploy the solution to production environment. The scope of the service is to implement data exchange in your ClearPath environment. The last service, that is administrator training service. As part of this training service, we'll provide you training for deploying and operating the data exchange environment. This includes creation of transformations, deployment of transformations, monitoring, maintenance, and recovery. So that's all from me today, and I will hand over to Arun.
Thanks, Prem. Bradley, would you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Just one other poll here that we'd like to quickly launch for everybody. This is a two-part poll, and we're keenly interested in your integration. So which target databases or databases are you interested to integrate ClearPath data with? You're able to select multiple options here. So number of options. We have Microsoft SQL, Oracle, MySQL, Postgres, MongoDB, Cassandra, MariaDB, and SAP HANA, or perhaps other. And then the follow-up question, do you plan to use data exchange with DMS? And that's a yes, no, or perhaps it's not applicable for your usage. Once again, we're just simply asking that you select your response or responses and then click submit. Just a reminder, please do click submit. Until you do so, we're not able to see those responses. And we'll just give this a few more moments to see the scores come in and aggregate, and then we'll share these results. All right. Let me close the poll. And just a quick note, I apologize to our friends who join us on using the browser. From my understanding, you're not able to participate in polls using that the browser interface. So my apologies for that. But right now, at least we're displaying the results for everybody. And it looks like many are using Microsoft and Oracle primarily. And it looks like you guys are looking to planning to use data exchange with DMS. Interesting results here as well. All right, let me hand the presentation back over to Arun to close.
Thank you, Bradley. So some of us would be interested in knowing more about the capabilities of what data exchange offers. So the best resource for that is the unisys.com webpage, where there is a dedicated page for data exchange to understand what the technical capabilities are, what videos are available, and what white papers have been written about the product. On YouTube, we have a number of videos on data exchange, especially related to 6.0 release. There is a long deep dive video which talks about all that I talked about in a lot of detail for those of us who would like to know more about what's in the release. There is also a playlist of a number of short videos which are like how-tos, like how do I connect to DMS? How do I achieve a particular uh, achieve a particular thing using data exchange. All those topic specific videos are like 2 to 3 minute in duration, and that might be useful if you're trying to do something specific. All of that is now available publicly on YouTube. So here is a quick QR code if you want to quickly check out or scan that link. And that concludes what we had to talk and cover in this session.